So this month's theme is easeful presence. So finding balance in the midst of challenge, finding presence in the midst of challenge, and finding ways to stay with things and let them be as they are. So kind of a big theme, is a lot of work, but it's so helpful, right? When we go through difficult journeys in life, we might have this tendency to tune out or shut down. And what this month is all about is to stay tuned in, to stay present, and to maintain as much balance, harmony, and ease in the process, regardless of what comes our way. So what this means is that we will work with balance in all of our layers of experience. So in the body, in the breath, in the mind, in our relationships. And we'll work through all of that over the course of those 4 weeks that are coming up. It'll be helpful, yet again, this month to have a chair. It's not essential. You can have a wall, or you could have a countertop, something that you can put your hand on. To help you with physical balance, because we will take some balancing shapes this month. So that's something to think about. And then today it'll be helpful to have like a little stress ball or a tennis ball if you have one, or anything else. Could be an orange or a lemon or something. That would work great as well. So some of you might have those on a tree outside. It might also be helpful not to use it as a stretchy band, but to have a stretchy band, or if you don't have a stretchy band, to have a nice thin scarf, like not a heavy wool scarf, but like a nice thin scarf that's like easy to crumple up. So some strange implements today. Yeah, that should work perfectly, exactly. So, beautiful. Yeah, so I invite you to gather up those things, and then when you have them, find your spot for your opening centering. So that could be a seat on the floor, that could be a seat on a chair, that could be a lying down position on the floor. And as always, make sure you have the props and the supports that you need to make yourself comfortable and to find easeful presence. If you are finding a seat on the floor, I invite you to have some kind of prop under your seat so that your hips are higher than the knees and that the legs can be open without strain on the knees or the ankles or the hip joints. And so be very kind and very particular to really optimize the possibility that you can indeed find ease and presence. Once you've settled yourself into a position, make a discerning choice about how you would like to place your hands, maybe palms down or up or at the heart, or in some kind of other gesture that signals to your nervous system that you've arrived and that you're ready to roll. And then perhaps make a deliberate and discerning choice about how you might like to place your eyes this morning. Maybe eyes open, or perhaps at half mast, or perhaps all the way closed. And don't jump to conclusions here about what will or won't serve you, but just really tune in for a moment to notice what would be a way to place the eyes that feels appropriate to your context and your current situation. And with all of these little decisions, please recall that you always have the choice to make a different decision. So if you chose one thing and you figure out after a while, ooh, this doesn't really serve me, simply shift very mindfully with full presence and then come back to the centering. With all of that said and invited, I invite you to sense into your body, to locate your body as it is, where it is in this moment and in this space. Locating the places in your body that need a bit of attention. And resting your focus there, very gently, in that location, in your body. And allow yourself to explore and experience what's present. And if it's not one single spot in the body, perhaps it's the entire body that you locate and then explore. What is present here in terms of sensations and experiences? What is your body bringing along this morning? Locating, experiencing, exploring. Being very present with what is. And then perhaps noting if there is something that needs tending to, not in an active way, but perhaps through compassion or through gratitude or patience. What might serve your body in this moment so that it feels tended to and acknowledged? You're tending to not with an expectation for a particular outcome, but rather you're simply present with what is, being kind to yourself, being attentive to yourself, for no reason other than to be with whatever is. And holding your body in this kind-hearted awareness, locate your breathing, locate your vitality, and begin to experience and explore what is present here in this layer of your experience. What kind of energy is there? What is your state of arousal? Is there an affective tone? What is the breath like? Can you be curious to experience the breath from the inside out, exploring how inhalations travel in and exhalations travel out? And is there something that you notice that might benefit from some tending to, from some patience, or gratitude, or compassion, for simply sustained attention and curiosity? Again, not with an expectation for a particular change or a particular outcome in your vitality, but just as a way of allowing yourself to let be whatever is in this layer of your experience, in your vitality, in your breath. And then continuing to let be in body and breath. I invite you gently to shift to your mind and to locate what is present in your mind. Locating your thoughts, locating the stories that are rattling through your head. And then exploring perhaps, experiencing perhaps, how these thoughts and stories reverberate in your mind to create a particular mind state, maybe of distraction, or focus, or chaos, or tiredness, overwhelm. Simply explore and experience your mind in this moment. And then without an expectation to change your mind, can you tend to what is present? Perhaps by offering gratitude or patience or curiosity to your mind. And then can you simply be with whatever is unfolding on the screen of your mind? Letting be what is. This capacity to let be is deeply grounded in your wise and intuitive experience, layer of self, however you want to frame it. It is this wise inner self, this wise inner intelligence that always locates what's happening, what's present, what needs attention. It has the capacity to experience, to explore, to notice, to attend to. It's infinite, this awareness in this layer, as it explores inner and outer worlds within and around you. It is also from this deep inner intelligence that you become capable of tending to whatever is present, whether it's through compassion or loving kindness, or equanimity, or patience, or curiosity. All of these qualities are deeply embedded within our human capacity. We just can't always tap into them, but they live in this deep intelligence. That's your fourth layer of the human experience. And so when we tap into this intelligence, we can let be. We understand what is happening. We are present with it. We remain balanced, easeful, and harmonious in the midst of it. We can let ourselves be in the midst of our life. And perhaps even tap into that seed of joy that represents our fifth layer of experience. And from this let be guided journey through your layers of experience, I invite you, if it suits you, to bring your hands to your heart as you bow your head to your heart, to note if from that wise, intuitive, deeply intelligent part of you, an intention emerges for you for your time on the mat this morning. This is not a goal or an outcome. This is a quality that you perhaps would like to cultivate. And maybe this comes to you in a word or in a phrase, or in a symbol or felt sense, or just an open space. Whatever it is for you, if it suits this moment, you might seal that intention into your heart with your next breath in. And you might send it silently outward into the greater web of life with your next breath out. Whenever you feel ready to do so, you could release your hands if they are lifted. You could rise to a seat if you're lying down. You could open your eyes if they were closed, and lift your gaze if it was lowered. And so as you may have caught on from this opening centering, this month of easeful presence will be guided by this paradigm of locate, experience and explore, tend to and be with, or let be, where the L is locate, the E is experience or explore, the T is tending to, and the B is be with. So this will continue to follow us through the entire month, and I hope it might follow you into your life too. Because that's a beautiful way of cultivating presence and harmony, no matter where you are, with whom you're interacting, or what the circumstances are. It doesn't mean that we always stay cool, calm, and collected. Sometimes we blow up. Sometimes we get overwhelmed. Sometimes we get tired. That's all part of it. That's the E. We explore whatever is there, and then we tend to it. We're kind to it. We don't chase it away. It's not about making anything go away. It's not about a particular outcome. It's about being present for our life. So there we go. Okay, so let's inhale and lift the arms up and overhead just a few times. Let yourself feel the expansiveness through the spine here as your seat is anchored to the earth and your arms are reaching up toward the sky, not by shrugging the shoulder blades up, but by drawing the crown of the head to the sky, inhaling to rise and exhaling to lower. And so in this particular movement, if you wanted to locate something, you could locate that sense of lift through the spine, not lift through the arms. Yes, they're moving up and down, but feeling that expansiveness from your tailbone to the crown of the head. And just let yourself experience what it's like to find this axial extension, as we call it in anatomical language. There's nothing necessary here other than to be present with, to locate, to experience, to explore. And then maybe to tend to by not shrugging the shoulders up, but by maintaining easeful as you move the arms here. The next time your arms are up and overhead, and you don't have to rush this, just whenever they arrive there with the breath, keep them there. And then catch the left wrist with the right hand, and with your exhalation, let yourself slightly descend to the right, opening the left side of the body. With your inhalation, you'll rise back to center. At the top, you'll switch the grip of the wrist and then exhale to the other side. So this will be unique to each one of us because our breath cycles are uniquely different from one another. And so let this side stretching be guided from the inside out. So locate your breath and then let yourself experience, explore how the rhythm of the breath is moving the body. Your tending to can come from not allowing the shoulder that is on the stretched side to pivot forward, but to keep the heart open. And maybe there's other tending to that's necessary. Maybe you need a bit more compassion for what is present for you, if there are little hitches or glitches, or if there is pain or challenge, and if your arms can't be up there, if your arms need to be down here, right? Is there a way that you can tend to this movement that makes it loving and kind for you so that you can stay balanced and harmonious? The point really is just to open the side body a little bit. You could even have your hands on your low ribs. And so tending to, in all contexts, but especially when we are moving through yoga shapes or vinyasas, is for you to really find your own way of being patient and kind and compassionate, for you to be your own teacher and to move your body in a way that suits you and the experiences that you have explored. And then to be with it for a bit, to really take it in, to take in what is unfolding and how maybe things evolve over time. We'll go a couple more times to each side. So finish the round you're on and then take one more round. And if you started with me on the right side, and after you have moved to the left, to keep balanced side to side and harmonious. And then with your exhalation, you can bring your arms to your side. You can be here for a moment and let be, locate, experience, tend to with whatever is unfolding in your body, breath, and mind now after this bit of a flow. And you can stay here, or if you'd like to keep moving, I invite you to place your hands to your heart, sort of palms stacked on top of each other. And then with the inhalation, let the heart open and maybe find a little bit of extension in the spine. Maybe your eyes lift toward the sky. And then with the exhalation, let yourself come forward any amount. Maybe the hands touch as you curl forward a tiny bit. Locate your range of motion here by really experiencing and exploring what suits you and how the breath is guiding you into this movement from the inside out. This step E, explore and experience, is absolutely key in our daily life. So often we move through things on automatic pilot and we tune out what's actually happening in our body and our breath. We even sort of tune out our thoughts, or we get carried away by them. And so when we come back into our curiosity, into our experience, then we can begin to notice, oh, what could I do here to tend to myself a tiny bit better? And so here you could tend to yourself with whatever range of motion, whatever arm movement might serve you. Maybe it's time for a bear hug on that forward curl and not just a palms touching. Maybe on the backward move, it's time for a shoulder circle. Just notice if you can tend to yourself here, bringing the spine through its range of motion of folding forward and opening backwards in a way that's most auspicious for you. And then let yourself be with that rhythm for just a couple more rounds. So finishing the round you're on, and then kindly taking one more round, never forgetting about the tending to, even in the midst of being with. And when you've given yourself one last hug or one last bow, with the next inhalation, you can come to your seat and take a moment to tune in to how that particular movement, that particular letting be, is resonating through you. You can stay here for as long as is auspicious for you. Or if you're ready to move on, then we'll take a few little rotations side to side. Again, there are lots of options here. By now you know them. We have done this. Most of you have done this with me many times. So one way to do this is to inhale and bring the arms up, and then exhale and let yourself rotate to the left. Letting the hips move freely. The inhale brings the arm back up and overhead, and then the exhale brings them to the other side. You're not using the hands here to torque yourself into a bigger twist. They're just landing gently. And so locate your range of motion here. Locate the parts of the body that are moving. Maybe locate the breath. And experience and explore. What is unfolding here within you? How does this feel from the inside out? Just very open to sensations. Even if some of them are challenging, letting yourself stay with the experience, maybe even exploring it a little bit more deeply, really diving in. But always with an eye on tending to yourself So never diving in to the point of doing harm or perseverating on something, but diving in, experiencing and exploring with a lens on how can you be compassionate here and kind and patient. Finish the round you're on, and then take one more cycle, ending, if you started with me, with a turn to the left, ending with a turn to the right. Letting yourself patiently be with the flow until the very end. Don't let the mind race ahead and get out of touch. But be with to the very end until your arms descend with an exhalation to your sides. Sit with that for a moment. You can stay here and explore or be with for as long as suits you. If you are ready to move on, I hope this next part is okay for most of you. If not, you can always do something different. But we're going to touch our feet a little bit. You can do this through socks if you would like, or you can actually have your feet bare. If you can bring your feet to you, if you're on a chair, for example, if you can bring your leg up like this to find your foot, try that. Sometimes it helps to have something under your feet like this and to reach your foot this way. So there are different little tricks that you could have, and you could even elevate this a little bit more, grab a couple of books or whatever. You could have it, your leg like this. I think you can see this okay. So however you can reach your feet, start with a little foot massage. So pick one foot and start with that one. And let yourself massage that foot. And just notice as you locate here the bottom of your foot, what this brings up for you. There's lots to experience here in the foot itself. How does the foot respond to this gentle massage that's happening? Can you explore with some curiosity here the sensations that are present in your foot? And maybe even the little resistances in the mind of, ooh, I don't like to touch my feet. Or, wow, this is so cool, I get to touch my feet. You know, as adults, we don't often play with our feet anymore, but it's actually quite a lovely thing to do. Because if you think about it, these poor guys, they're bearing your weight all day long. Well, at least while you're standing or walking, and to some degree even while you're seated. And so it's so nice to give them a little bit of tender, loving care, a little bit of tending too. And don't forget all your little toesies. So give some attention to each individual toe, giving it a gentle little massage. Some of you may be saying, is this really yoga? And yeah, it is. It totally is yoga. It's just a little different. Yeah. And then if you would like to explore a little bit, you could explore the codependence of your toes by sliding a finger between the gaps in your toes. I'll come a little closer to the screen and show this like this. So you could place your fingers in between your toes just to feel what it's like to create this bigger gap between your toes with your fingers here. And just, be with whatever is, really experience and explore, and tend to maybe by wiggling your fingers a little bit. You could even see if there's a way to spread your fingers, to spread the toes. I hope you can see this on the screen. And then you could use your toes to squeeze your fingers. And what changes here? You might notice as you spread, the foot sort of opens up a little bit. You don't have to hold the foot, I just have to because otherwise I'll fall over. But and then you can squeeze and open and close. And look at how this, or feel rather, on your own foot, how this reverberates through the entire foot. This is great for your hands too, by the way, because they're working hard as well. And then you can gently undo your fingers. Oops, that one just popped out. And then just notice if your foot looks any different. Maybe the toes are a little bit more spread apart. And then just wiggle your toes a bit. And then shake the foot out and maybe make a few circles with your ankle. You don't have to support your knee. You can if you'd like. I'm just doing that because I'm standing up and I want you to see what I'm doing. This is probably the most video exposure my feet have ever had. I hope they're somewhat clean. So, yeah. And wiggle the toes again. It helps to wiggle the fingers when you wiggle the toes. I don't know if you noticed, but my hand immediately started to wiggle too. They're a little bit codependent. All right, and then we will do one more thing with our feet, and that will involve the scarf or the stretchy band. And I hope you can see this okay. I'll sit on my lower seat here. Lay that out in front of you so you can be seated either on the ground or on your chair, wherever you are. And make sure you use the same foot. So I've been working on my left foot. I don't know, I didn't cue which one to start with. Hopefully you tracked it. And then bring your toes to the stretchy band. I hope you can see that okay enough. And use your toes to pull the band a tiny bit closer to you. And so just grab and pull, grab and pull. Can you see how my band is getting shorter and shorter? That's because I'm bunching it up. And so you're using, and this is why you want a thin scarf, not a big, thick, woolly scarf, or why a stretchy band works so well. And just keep using your toes to pull that band closer and closer. Do you feel the workout that this is for your feet? Yeah, right? It's amazing. If we want good standing balance, we need to have strong, flexible feet. And so this is a beautiful way of making that happen. If you have a really, really long scarf, this could take a long time. So, at some point you can just end. I'm at the end of my stretchy band, so this foot is considered done. If you want, you can lift it up for a moment and swing it around and just have some fun with it, right? We won't do this right now, but if you have a bucket of marbles at home, or like glass beads that you like to put in a vase, so that your flowers stand upright, one thing that's really great for your feet is to put those marbles on the floor and then to have a container. Plastic's better if it's glass marbles. And then you take your foot and you pick up one marble at a time and place it in the container. I have about 100 marbles that I do this with. It takes some time, but it's a fantastic exercise for your feet. So that would be the next exercise I would do with you if you were my private client, because that's another beautiful one for your feet. But we need to do the other side, right? So, but I thought I'd mention it in case somebody has marbles out there. So switch yourself around, however it works for you, to find the other foot now and give that foot the same kind attention. So locate. Really drop your attention. When I say locate, I mean really drop your attention into the place that you're working on or attending to. It's like let yourself be in that space. It doesn't even have to be, in this case it's your foot, but it doesn't even have to be in the body, right? Sometimes you locate something outside of yourself that you really want to be with and to explore and experience. So it can be inner and outer. And if you can handle it, let yourself really watch your foot and be curious about your foot, right? Feel it from the inside out, but also really like take it in. How often do you really look at your feet? You know, compare that to how often you look at your face. I would say your poor feet get way less attention. So yeah, so let them have some attention right now. And don't skip any part of the foot. You could even massage across the top. You know, and if you kind of think back to the lymphatics class, this is of course a great way to also think about moving lymph out of the foot. So you could, you know, really also have that in mind. Though at this point, I think really just tend to and be with your foot. And then when you are ready to explore that finger between the toes trick, you can do that on this side. So threading, maybe using your other hand, right? If you naturally used one hand for the first foot, use your other hand, just because this is good for your fingers too. And you might notice that one foot has more codependent toes than the other foot. And so just be kind and compassionate with that. And then do that same thing where you use your fingers to spread apart the toes, and then you use the toes to squeeze the fingers. Just let this kind of be a little collaboration between the hand and the foot, the fingers and the toes. And feel how the squeezing of the toes reverberates through the foot, maybe even into the ankle, and how the spreading of the fingers against the toes reverberates through your hands, maybe into your wrists. Do that a couple more times. And then when you feel ready to release this, you can let your fingers remove themselves, one finger at a time, if that works. Sometimes several will pop out all at once, but just see if you can do it slowly and with presence so that they come out one finger at a time. And then wiggle the toes and roll out your ankles. Maybe even shake them out, whatever feels good here to release any tension or to tend to any tension that may have crept in through that activity. And then whenever you feel ready, you can transition yourself to finding your scarf and then slowly moving that scarf closer to you. I guess I should show this in a way that you can see it. By grabbing and pulling. And if you have a really short scarf, you can just do it twice. Letting yourself be with the experience. And when you're at the end, you could pick it up and just, you know, float it around a little bit. Kind of wave to yourself, yoo-hoo, I did it. And then you can let go of that scarf. And when you're ready, come to standing. And just feel into your feet for a moment. Notice how they're standing on the earth. You can stay right where you are. I'm going to come a little closer to the screen to show you my foot, to explain what I'm going to say. As you're standing on the earth now and you're sensing into your feet, notice where you feel primary contact. Some of us stand on the earth and we feel 3 corners of the feet. the big ball, the toe mound of the big toe, the toe mound of the little toe, and basically the center of the heel. But some of us actually feel 4 corners: big toe mound, little toe mound, outer heel or inner heel, and outer heel. And you've created a lot of sensitivity in the nerve endings in your toes through this preparatory work. And so notice if you're feeling 3 corners or 4 corners in your feet. You might even, right here, imagine that you're putting your fingers between your toes to spread the toes a little bit farther apart. You could literally do this by lifting your, keeping your big toe on the ground, lifting the other 4 toes and trying to spread them to the side, and then letting your little toe descend. And you might notice that your toes are a little bit more spread out now. This is really a much more natural way for your foot to be. And so if you wear shoes with like really narrow toe boxes, you're kind of depriving yourself of a lot of stability, because this is a very stable stance. And so just locate your way into your body here and how it's standing in this shape that we call in yoga mountain. And notice how stable do you feel? What is your experience here? And you might be pretty floored by what you experience here. That was not an intentional pun, but you know, it worked. So because you have so many nerve endings in your feet, it's unbelievable. And you awakened them. So they're alive right now, and you may really feel the difference. And so from that stability, you might want to grab a wall or a chair in case you need it. But if you feel stable right now, just sway side to side, a tiny little bit, not a huge range of motion, but just move side to side and experience how your body naturally accommodates that shift in where you distribute load. And stay very connected to your feet on the floor to feel how much stuff is happening in all of those bones and muscles and ligaments in your feet as they help stabilize you here as you move side to side. Now, a little bit more difficult, come back to center and then sway forward and back. This can feel a little bit more destabilizing, so just be very slow and deliberate. Really stay connected. And, you know, notice how you can tend to yourself here. If you're starting to feel anxious about falling, grab a chair or a wall. Or rather, go to the wall. It's hard to grab the wall if it's kind of far away. And just keep going back and forth here. And maybe notice how the load shifts now as you lean forward into the toes. Maybe the heels almost lift away from the earth, and then into the heels as you move back, and maybe the toes almost lift. And then if you would like, make circles around your feet with your hips to feel all of these motions at the same time, but really locating your feet, really experiencing what is happening here in your footprint. And then at some point, shift directions and draw your circle in the other direction. And don't let the mind tune out. Stay really connected here to the E, to the experience, the exploration. Staying present. And then you can come back to center and settle into your feet yet again. Now with the next motions, I would really recommend that you have a chair or a wall available. You don't have to if you feel really super stable, but it's kind of nice for your nervous system to know, oops, if I start to go a little too far, there's something here that will support me. And so from here, you can have the chair by your side, or you could face the chair like this, whatever feels better to you. If you face it like this, then you can have both hands on the chair, and that may feel more balancing. I'll show it from the side just so that the chair is not between me and the screen. And with the inhalation, you're going to come to your toes. Actually, I will show this from the side. Come to the toes. And then with the exhalation, you'll let yourself descend. And here, be very curious about not the goal, like not getting to the top or getting to the bottom, but really locate the movement down and the movement up. So be more with the process than the end point. So let yourself really feel, how do you roll through your foot on the way up, and how do you roll through your foot on the way down. So often we get caught up in the end goal, like I want to get to my toes, and we don't pay attention to the journey. We're like that in our car too. We want to drive somewhere and we're just focused on where we want to get instead of enjoying the ride. So let yourself enjoy the ride here. And then if you feel stable, when you've descended, instead of coming back up to the toes, lift the toes and come to the heels. And then roll back down all the way to the toes. Roll down nice and slow. Enjoy the journey. And then lift onto the heels. Forward and back. These are wonderful movements to maintain good balance as you're walking and standing. And so while these may seem very slow and maybe not so meaningful things, they're actually hugely meaningful and really important to maintaining balance, especially as we age. And especially if you have some neuropathy in your feet, this could be a very, very helpful movement. If you have a little bit of plantar fasciitis in your feet, this could be very, very helpful. All right, but you stay, of course, tuned in and aware. And the next time you've come to your toes, when you roll down, come onto your feet again and tune in to what is happening in your feet. How are you standing on the earth? How well grounded is your mountain? And then from here, we'll take a few leg lifts. And again, you have the chair there for support if you would like it. It's a wonderful thing to give your nervous system that support, right? And then notice how your body will naturally adjust. So I'm not going to give much direction here, but you have located your legs, your balance. So experience what changes as you gently take your right foot off the earth, bending your knee. I'll show this kind of at a diagonal. And then lower the knee. Maybe moving with the breath, you don't have to, but approximately you could inhale up, hold for a moment, exhale down, fully stand for a moment, bringing your balance back, and then repeat. Maybe just 3 times, 4 times, depending on your breath cycle. And notice how miraculously your body readjusts. You don't have to think about, oh, these core muscles have to kick in now, or my pelvic floor has to lift. Your body just does this naturally. And especially when you do this with patience and you're not rushing through the process, but you're staying connected to the whole process. So you're tending to the process. by paying attention to it. Last lift on this side. And then take a moment and just let that settle into your nervous system before you jump to the other side, so that you don't jump to the other side, but you transition very thoughtfully to the other side. And then when you're ready, same procedure. And just notice, really be present for this. Most of us have a dominant leg, just like we have a dominant hand and arm. So you might really notice as you step here that one leg has more strength or more coordination than the other. And you're not going to notice that if you hurry through this movement, but if you take it nice and slow, that actually requires way more balancing and stabilizing, you will notice. There's way more joy in the journey than in the end goal very often. It's in the journey that we discover unexpected things. And last time, and then notice if you have an urge to maybe jog it out a little bit or shake it out a little bit. Just let that happen very naturally. Maybe little steps side to side. You're ready for it. Your feet are ready for it. Your body has been challenged to balance. So that's a nice little excursion now. And then we'll take one last little balancing movement. For this, you can face your chair, either the back of the chair or the seat of the chair, whichever feels more appropriate to you. I will show it with the back of the chair first. And have both hands on the chair or on the seat of the chair. And then if you notice that you have a dominant leg, stand on your dominant leg. And then take the other leg and bring it out behind you. And you know how last month we kind of rolled forward across the head of the femur when we came into our sun salutes, our half lifts? Let yourself pivot forward from the hip joint, letting the leg that you're bringing to the back bring you up. And then returning that foot to the earth. So the movement is really driven by the lifting leg. We're going to do the same side again. You could have your fingertips in your hip creases the same way we did when we did our sun salute, when we moved into our half lift. So find the chair and then begin to take your non-dominant leg out behind you and let that pull you up. So the leg's kind of pulling up and that brings you into the fold. Yeah, beautiful, you guys. And then press through the heel of the lifted leg. And if you feel super balanced, you could bring your arms out to the side. Otherwise, have them on the chair, or have one on the chair and one out to the side. Yogi's choice. And with an exhalation, you'll descend back down, hands back to the chair if they were away, and rise up. Stand for a moment, don't rush to the other side, let yourself appreciate what you just did. And then when you feel ready, move to the second side. So we may all have been on different legs. So when you're ready, you can bring one hand into the hip crease, one hand to the chair, or both hands to the chair. And then take the leg, sweep it out and up behind you, and then let that bring the body forward. And notice if there is a difference in the standing leg here. Notice if the hip wants to pop up, and keep the pelvis level. Move up and down a couple of times. Finding that beautiful alignment that you practiced last month when you come forward. Moving with your breath, tending to your experience, maybe with patience, maybe with deep concentration. And if you'd like to experiment on this side with bringing the hands away from the chair, you could do that, maybe one hand away from the chair, and balance for a moment here. And then when you feel ready to do so, journey back to standing, enjoying the ride. And then arrive, locate your body in its entirety. I'm going to come to my knees so you can see me. You can stay standing. And once again, experience and explore. There may have been shifts in your experience of your body, in your experience of your breath, even in the experience of your mind. Can you simply be with all of that? Can you let be what is? And when you feel ready to do so, you can transition yourself to the shape you would like to take for your closing, resting shape. So you could come to a seat on the earth. You could come to a seat on a chair. You could lie down for your shavasana. Allow yourself to arrive fully. Letting the body be by releasing it to the power of gravity. Letting the breath be by surrendering it to the flow of life force that moves through all of us. Letting your mind be by allowing thoughts to simply come and go like clouds in the sky. And then letting be by moving into about a minute of silence until my voice brings you back. very gently begin to reawaken your senses to the outer and inner world. Noticing perhaps the sounds around you, the breeze on your skin, the texture of your clothing, perhaps noticing your body from the inside out, exploring whether there's a bit of tending to here with little wiggles or stretches, or simply remaining in quietude physically. And then gently locate your breath, exploring your inhalation and your exhalation. Perhaps tending to the breath with gratitude, with patience. And then locate your mind, exploring what thoughts or stories may emerge now. And perhaps tend to them with simply appreciation. If you are lying on the earth and you would like to close the practice in a seat, this would be the time to make that transition. But you're always welcome to stay on the floor. If for once you have arrived at a seat, I invite you to bring your hands to your heart if that suits you in this moment. And perhaps to bow your head to your heart. And locate your inner wisdom. And notice if there was an experience that seems worthwhile remembering, if there was a takeaway from today's practice, something meaningful, something interesting, something important that you'd like to tend to by inviting it to settle into your tissues, to settle into your breath, perhaps into your memory banks. And then notice if that takeaway in some way connects to the intention that you had set earlier to create a dedication of the merit of your time on the mat. And if such a dedication arises for you and seems auspicious, perhaps you choose to seal it into your own heart with your next breath in, and to send it silently outward into the greater web of life with your next breath out. And thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this beautiful Thursday morning